and 420.
Today, we will convene the first meeting of APEC Group of Friends on Disability, and I'm pleased to meet all of my colleagues and friends in the beautiful city of Cebu. As a facilitator of the APEC GOF on Disability, I would first introduce myself. My name is Wei Mengxin, and I'm from China Disabled Persons Federation, a focal point on disability in China. Dear friends, please allow me, on behalf of the APEC GOF on Disability, to extend my welcome to you for your presence and to express my sincere appreciation for your support in promoting disability inclusive development in the Asia and the Pacific region. As most of us witnessed during the second APEC senior officials meeting and the related meetings held in Berkeley in May 2015, the concept paper of promoting disability inclusive development in the Asia Pacific region, submitted by China and co-sponsored by Australia, Malaysia, Peru, and the United States, was discussed and adopted by consensus in the SOM Steering Committee on Economic and Technical Cooperation and by senior officials. Accordingly, it was endorsed to establish an APEC Group of Friends on Disability under the SCE, marking the issue of disability and the economy being officially incorporated into the APEC framework. From the birth of the open-ended GOF to the technical establishment or official establishment of APEC GOF on disability, great efforts were dedicated in unity by all the APEC members. Today, we get together again and will jointly take a concrete step forward for the development of the APEC GOF on disability, which I believe will be of great significance to achieve disability inclusive development in the Asia and the Pacific region. As members of the big family of APEC GOF on disability, let us join our hands to take care of it, ensure it to grow up healthy and strong. Ladies and gentlemen, as host economy of the year's APEC meeting, the Philippines has offered its great support and efficient services for our meeting. Now, I'm honored to invite Mr. Matthew Lee, Deputy Executive Director of the National Council on Disability Affairs from the Philippines, to deliver a welcome speech. Mr. Lee, please.
Thank you, Mr. Wei. To all my colleagues on the disability movement, our group of friends have been supportive of the disability agenda. From the National Council on Disability Affairs, we welcome you all in this part of the Philippines, Cebu, and I hope you enjoy your stay up to the end of our meetings and the rest of your activities itinerary ahead of this morning activity. The National Council on Disability Affairs recognizes that disability issue is a cross-cutting issue. And such, we need to have the disability mainstream in all structural framework, whether domestic or national and international structures. And that includes the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation as part of the international structure that we have to deal with. Disability agenda is not an issue that is isolated to each and every economy. September 25 to 27, about more than 150 leaders will meet in New York to adopt a new goals of the Sustainable Development Goals. And these new Sustainable Development Goals will mark a difference in transforming our world, having three main dimensions: economic, social, and environmental. It has its theme, transforming the world, but in the direction of doing so, the countries commit that nobody will be left behind. And it is very timely. The adoption of the concept paper led by China in Boracay, the establishment of the APEC group of friends is a relevant structure that guarantees the assurance that mainstreaming disability agenda in the APEC structural framework. All of us, not only those without disability, but more so the sector of people with disabilities around the world, APEC in particular, and the sub-region of the ASEAN Decade of Persons with Disabilities embodied in the Bali Declaration 2011-2020 and the ASEAN Declaration of Human Rights, together with the ASEAN Social Protection and the MDG, considering the Sustainable Development Goals that will be adopted in 2016, January, the Persons with Disability Agenda is now incorporated into the core group of economic development in all parts of the Asia-Pacific region. And that means using our financial development action plan adopted in Addis Ababa, Africa, and the different commitments of capacity development by international UN agencies mark the collaboration of inclusion. And this is the dream of every one of us, the Asia-Pacific cooperation, to have an APEC that is inclusive of all. Again, thank you very much and good morning to all, and we welcome you here in Manila. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank the Chinese delegation for the leadership that it has played over the last year when it was lead in China last year for the creation of the Group of Friends. I think the relevance of the establishment of the Group of Friends has been clearly articulated by Mateo from the Philippines. What I find is unique about what's going on now with the Group of Friends is that we're bringing together different communities, people who are experts in APEC and people who are experts in the area of disability. And as I've gone around the table and been speaking to people this morning, we have people who have expertise in one or the other area, and not a lot of people who have expertise in both areas. So one of the relevance of the Group of Friends is that it is going to be enabling us over the course of time to really have a better understanding of what the barriers are that disabled people in our respective countries are facing, the policies and practices that have been created in our countries to be able to help remove those barriers, to be able to learn from each other about the progress that we're making, what seems to be working, what is not working. And I think the role of APEC is critical. Economic development is really what disabled people have been discussing for decades. These discussions have typically been within the disability community itself, and we have slowly been able to have the issues that we've been discussing emerging in larger fora. Mateo's comments about the SDGs is very important because when the Millennium Development Goals were developed by the United Nations, 15 years ago, there was no mention of disability. And so we can see that the work of the disability communities around the world to really focus on the agendas that are being pursued to remove educational barriers, housing barriers, transportation barriers, which limit the ability of disabled people to move into the world of work, is what we're trying to achieve. It's very clear that the success of this agenda is not going to happen overnight. But what is very important is that as the group of friends moves forward, clearly articulating barriers and solutions, that this, in fact, will enable governments and civil society to have a clear understanding of the fact that the 650 million disabled people who, according to the World Bank, reside in the Asia-Pacific region, and that this group of people are amongst the poorest of the poor, that the work of APEC is critical to enabling those of us with physical disabilities, sensory disabilities, invisible disabilities like hepatitis and diabetes and HIV/AIDS, etc., to really become an integrated part of our communities. The disability community is not looking for charity. The disability community is looking for equal opportunity to be able to make meaningful contributions to our societies. And so I really do believe that the group of friends is going to be a mechanism which will enable us to further these objectives. And I welcome everybody who has been participating and our ability to expand this group to get more people engaged. And we look forward very much to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Herman. And both Mathieu and Judith mentioned the SDG, and that will be passed in New York later this month. So I encourage all the economists and to communicate with your capital and also your colleagues who work in New York to encourage and to just encourage them to do more work for disabled people in the future.
And breadth of cooperation with all people.
For the first meeting of the APEC Group of Friends on the Asia and Pacific region.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is all.